Unplug your fridge right now. In 3 days, most of what is inside it becomes dangerous. In a week, some of it could genuinely hospitalize you. And yet humans ate for 200,000 years without one. Not by being lucky, by solving the problem so completely that we forgot it was a problem. The answer involves butter buried in a swamp, a fish sauce that stank across an empire, and a tin can that existed for 50 years before anyone invented the can opener.
See this apple?
First,
It's about to be invaded.
understand what
Here come
spoiling
the
actually
microbes,
is.
marching in.
Food
They
does not
climb on
decay
and
on
start
its
taking
own.
tiny bites.
It is being eaten.
And just like that,
Microbes
it's
get to
shrinking.
it before you do. And those microbes need 3 things: water, warmth, and time. Take away any one of them and they lose. That is the entire science. So every preservation method humans ever invented is one of 4 ideas. Dry it out, salt it, keep it cold, or ferment it on purpose. Drying is the oldest. Hang meat or fish in sun and wind, and the water leaves. Microbes cannot live in a desert, even a small one. Dried fish, dried meat, dried fruit. Some of it lasts for years. It is not pleasant, but it is food in February, and that is the whole point. Smoking does the same job twice. It dries the surface, and it coats the food in compounds from the smoke that microbes genuinely do not like. Then there is salt. And salt is not a seasoning in this story. Salt is a weapon. Salt built roads, funded armies, and started wars. Salt works by osmosis. Surround a microbe with salt, and the water is pulled straight out of it. It does not get poisoned. It gets drained. You have probably heard that Roman soldiers were paid in salt, and that this is where the word salary comes from. Historians are not convinced. Treat that one carefully. But the rest is solid. There were salt roads across Europe and Africa. There were salt taxes. In France, the salt tax was hated enough to help fuel a revolution, and salt cod fed a continent. Dried and salted, it kept for a year or more, which is exactly how long an Atlantic voyage might take. Now the clever one. Fermentation. Instead of stopping food from spoiling, you spoil it deliberately, with organisms you have chosen, before anything dangerous arrives. Friendly microbes eat the sugars and produce acid. That acid makes the environment hostile to everything else. You are not preventing decay, you are picking a winner. Sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt. Every one of these is a vegetable or a liquid that has been safely occupied by an army you invited in. And cheese. Fresh milk lasts days. Hard cheese lasts years. Cheese is not a luxury food that happens to keep. Cheese is milk converted into storage. Rome took this further than anyone with garum, a sauce made from fish left to ferment in salt for months. It was used in almost everything. Production sites were built outside city walls because of the smell. Romans loved it anyway. Every empire has one condiment it cannot explain to outsiders. Then there is fat. Cook meat, pack it into a jar, and seal it under a thick layer of its own fat. No air gets in. Nothing grows. The French call it confit. The English called it potting. In North America, dried meat was pounded with fat and berries into pemmican, which kept for years. And in Ireland, people buried butter in peat bogs. Cold, acidic, low in oxygen. Archaeologists still dig up lumps of bog butter, some of them thousands of years old. Honey does not need any of this. It barely spoils at all. Very little water, naturally acidic, and it produces small amounts of hydrogen peroxide. You may have heard that edible honey was found in Egyptian tombs. That story is repeated constantly and sourced very badly. The chemistry is real. The tomb story, be careful with. Cold was harder, but not impossible. Ice houses existed in Mesopotamia around 4,000 years ago. Cut ice in winter, pack it in straw, use it in summer. Persia went further with the yakhchal, a thick domed building fed by underground water channels and wind towers, capable of producing ice in a desert climate. Rome hauled snow down from the mountains. China cut ice from frozen rivers and stored it in pits. Cold was available. It was just expensive. Now, a myth. You have almost certainly heard that spices were used to hide the taste of rotten meat. This is not true, and it never was. Spices were staggeringly expensive. Anyone who could afford pepper could afford fresh meat. Nobody pours a fortune onto garbage. Spices were status, not a cover story. Real change comes in 1809, when Nicolas Appert wins a prize from the French government for sealing food in glass and heating it. Canning is born. He had no idea why it worked. Germ theory was 50 years away. Metal cans followed in 1810, and here is my favorite detail. The can opener does not arrive for roughly another 50 years. Early cans came with instructions telling you to open them with a hammer and a chisel. Meanwhile, a Boston merchant named Frederick Tudor built a fortune cutting ice from New England lakes and shipping it, in sawdust, all the way to the Caribbean and India. Then Pasteur explained the whole thing. Suddenly, every technique humans had used for 10,000 years had a reason. Salting, drying, and fermenting had all been right. Home refrigerators arrive in the 1910s and 20s, and early models were dangerous. They ran on toxic gases that sometimes leaked and killed families in their sleep. So your fridge is about 100 years old. Everything else in this video is thousands. But it raises one more question. If the food was risky, what did people drink? That's next time.